Hello, everybody! Happy Wednesday! Oh, do you guys have a treat today? I am so incredibly honored that I have a new author here with me today, and her book is absolutely phenomenal. Live, Laugh, and Find True Love. So, this book really spoke to my heart because, yes, as a family physician, I deal with the whole person, right? I deal with all different ages, but specifically, health is directly related to your long-term relationships. And the actually, specifically in like the blue zones, they've done studies where those people that live longer lives actually have more meaningful connections and more loving relationships in their lives. I myself personally have seen this where my best friend, um, she lived a couple blocks away from me. She was doing everything right. She was eating the right diet. She was, meditating. She was going on nature walks. She was drinking all the water. She was eating fermented foods. But oh, I even bought her an organic mattress, and her metastatic breast cancer continued to progress. And it wasn't until a month before she passed that she really told me that she was in a really difficult relationship with her husband. And that then can, and especially when all of her symptoms flared during COVID, that all just makes sense. That they were both stuck in the same house, and it just that stress built up. And even though she was doing everything right, but her relationship caused her stress, that caused her family to suffer, and she eventually passed away. So this is why I love this book more than anything. And I feel like we don't talk about this enough. We really don't talk about this enough, and how your relationships are super important. But the thing is, where are we going to find the right type of relationships, right? And that's where I have Sarah with us today, Sarah Intelligator. She is a divorce attorney in Los Angeles, and she's graduated from UCLA. She has a bachelor's in arts and English. She's been practicing family law since 2008. And but the cool thing is she's also a yoga instructor since 2000. So she organically bridged her two worlds, coining the term holistic divorce and family law. And her really passion is to help others through divorce and really build meaningful relationships. So there's really no other person that I want to know what's going on and how we can find a meaningful relationships than someone that have seen it like many fall apart. So thank you so much, Sarah, for joining me today. I'm so incredibly honored for you to join me.
Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
So where do we actually find these meaningful relationships, and why is it really important? First, let's start with that. Why is it even
So finding a meaningful relationship is so important for many reasons. You touched upon it. Obviously, our relationship, we don't rely on our relationship to make us happy, right? It's not there to make us happy. We need to be happy independent of our relationship. But a good relationship really has the power to enhance our lives. And in stark contrast, a bad relationship has the power to really negatively impact not only our lives, but also our physical health. I've seen perfectly people who've never had any sort of health issues, never had any mental health history, they felt trapped in their marriage for one reason or another. Maybe they had kids, they didn't want to be apart from their kids, they felt that financially they were trapped. Whatever the reason, they felt trapped, and this led to depression, anxiety, even suicidal ideations. And, or you're in a bad relationship and you start to feel resentful and angry, and you're carrying these really heavy emotions around all the time that negatively in turn impact your health. And there's a lot of, scientific evidence there that our emotions impact our physical health. So finding a meaningful relationship is so important to your mental health, to your physical health, to the quality of your life, to the quality of your children's lives. Children are a huge part of this, right? If you do have children in the future, you might not be thinking about that when you're dating someone or you're on a first date or a second date. But if it eventually leads to children, children whose parents go through an amicable divorce can be totally well adjusted. They can be totally happy. But for the most part, divorces are acrimonious, because if two people don't get along, then that's the reason they're getting divorced in the first place, right? Not if they got along, they would still be together. So they disagree. They disagree on how they want to raise their children. And their children are then thrust in the middle of the controversy and the parents' conflict. And not only does this have severe negative implications for the children in the moment, mental health implications, children of acrimonious divorces have a higher suicide rate. But also then it becomes a revolving door. This is a model for this child's relationship in the future, and they're going to seek out patterns that are similar to what they observed in their parents. So when you're on a first or second date, you're not thinking about these things, but the implications are so far reaching and not only impact the rest of your life, but the life of your potentially unborn child. So that is why relationships are important.
So important. And science has proven that love does heal, that love releases these flood of potent hormones into the bloodstream, which not only help you feel better emotionally, but also strengthen your immune system. It helps you heal physically, mentally, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually. And us humans are social creatures, right, by nature, and we need each other to survive. And so since we've been very young, we've depended on these relationships to help each other survive. So again, love does heal. But I know you dive into the F's. Can you go into what that is? F words here?
Different kinds of F words.
The different kind of F words.
The different kind of F words. To sum them up, because I obviously go into great detail into each F word in the book, but the F words are essentially, I call them the fail factors. They're the 6 patterns that I have in my practice of divorce and family law over the years seen all relationships fail for these reasons. Now, it doesn't mean that every relationship isn't unique. Everyone's an individual, but all relationships fail for these same 6 reasons. And so when you're looking for a relationship, you want to make sure that you are kind of anticipating these things and approaching them in a very methodical way. And so just briefly, those 6 are fundamental values, meaning 2 people don't share fundamental values, the relationship isn't going to work out. So when you're seeking out a relationship, you want to make sure you and your partner share fundamental values. Fear, right? People stay in the wrong relationship because they're afraid they might not find someone better. So they stay in the relationship. So you want to make sure you're getting into the relationship, not because you're afraid that your biological clock is ticking. I'm getting too old. I might not find someone better, but your intentions are pure, and that you're choosing the right person for the right reasons. Foundation. So every relationship needs to have a solid foundation, and the foundation consists of what I call 5 pillars. I liken it to kind of the foundation of a house. If your pillars are not intact, then the structure will crumble. And those 5 pillars are trust, honesty, respect, communication, teamwork. Yes, that's all of them. That's all 5. And those are things that can actually get knocked down during the relationship. So these are things you should always be working on. They're things that evolve with time, but they're things that I see people have to begin with, and then they do things to destroy these pillars as the relationship progresses. Another one is fairy tale. We have, people have this fairy tale notion of what a marriage, what marriage is, or what having children is. And, that it's just happily ever after, or the wedding is the most important day. But in reality, life is not a fairy tale. Life is filled with obstacles and challenges. And We need to be realistic about this in our expectations. Otherwise, we will always be disappointed. And people who, just place so much emphasis on the wedding and things like that, they're constantly then disappointed in their relationship. The other one is fixing, where people try to fix their partner, but also when people enter into a relationship not having fixed themselves. And this doesn't mean that we're not all, listen, we all have our issues. We're all, we consist of scars and wounds that make up our fabric, and they're part of who we are, and that's beautiful. But if you have a major issue and your issue is selecting your partner, right, because you haven't addressed it, you haven't worked through it, there's some trauma, something like that, then your issue is going to select the partner, and it's going to select the wrong partner because your issue is the one selecting it, not you. So work on yourself before you get into the relationship. Address whatever issues you have going into it so you can enter into a healthy relationship in a healthy way. And then the final one is family. I see family play a huge role in destroying relationships all the time. One, if a family member doesn't approve of a significant other, that places a lot of strain on a relationship. Getting to know the family before you get into a relationship, because the family is kind of this puzzle piece. It sort of gives us clues about the person's values or their background, or maybe their belief systems. Maybe the person doesn't get along with their family, and that could be some sort of telltale sign to you that this person might have some sort of unaddressed issues. It doesn't mean they haven't addressed them, but there might be something there. So getting to know the family, getting to know why the family isn't in the picture. If your partner is close to his or her family, getting to know the family, making sure you like the family, making sure the family likes you, because you become part of this family and this family becomes part of your family. And it's very powerful because your partner is connected to his or her family, whether they have a relationship or not. So those are kind of, in a very, very big nutshell, the 6 F words.
So where would somebody start? Where do you think, if somebody has been is in a relationship, and they want to make sure that this person, by following your 5 F's, making all your 5 F's, making sure that all of that is aligned, are there red flags that somebody should be looking for?
Yes. I think the very first thing that so these 6 F words, they're not listed in any particular order, but the fundamental values is deliberately listed first. And I mentioned it first because without shared fundamental values, the relationship doesn't have the glue that it needs to hold it together for over the course of time. Right? 2 people need to be aligned in their backgrounds and their views and their shared beliefs so that they navigate life in a similar way. And so the very first thing you need to ascertain, whether you're just looking to get into a relationship or you're actually in one, is assessing what your own fundamental values are, and then ascertaining whether your partner shares, not all of them, right? There can be some differences, but like 3 to 5, I think, is a good place to start. Because if you believe in the same things or you have the same outlook on life, you're going to navigate life in a similar way. And so that's going to, instead of growing apart, you're going to work together and grow together. So I think the fundamental values is key. Now, in terms of red flags, yes, if the fundamental values aren't there, or you're seeing dissonance in fundamental values, that's a red flag. If we go back to the 6 F words, are you trying to fix your partner? Because if you are, that's a red flag. Are you working through your own unaddressed issues through your relationship? That should be a red flag. Are you more concerned about getting to the wedding than the relationship itself? That should be a red flag. So really hitting all these F words, right? Like, are you afraid to leave the relationship? Are you in it because you're afraid to leave it? Or you truly feel like this person is somebody with whom you share fundamental values and you should share your life. Because if you're just in it because you're afraid, then you need to get out, right? That's not the right reason to be in it. Foundation, do you have the trust, the honesty, the teamwork, the communication, the respect? If you don't, if even one of those is missing, if even one of those is weak, then that might be a red flag. So a lot of people see these things, and I would venture to say most people see red flags. We all have intuition. We see it. The question then is, are you going to be honest with yourself, or are you going to sweep that under the rug in the hope that it'll just go away? And the answer is it won't go away. You're going to end up in my office. And the whole point here is I'm trying to keep you out of my office. So don't sweep those red flags under the rug, because eventually the mound will grow so big, you'll trip over the pile of red flags that's sitting there under the rug. It's not going to go away.
Absolutely. And especially us as women, we try to I feel like oh, it'll go away. It'll go away. It'll go away.
Yeah.
Plus we have this pressure from the outside world. Our biological clocks are ticking. We want to smooth this along.
Yeah.
But again, at the long run, we really need to focus on these and really be true to ourselves, right?
Yeah. And are you delaying the inevitable? Because you might really want kids and your biological clock might be ticking. So you're like, okay, anyone will do, or this guy's good enough, or whoever is good enough. But the reality is, are you then also willing to deal with the consequences? And no one thinks about that in the moment. Because they just dive in and they're like sink or swim, and they're like, I'll worry about that later. But the problem is later, if you have that child, you're going to have to co-parent with someone who has very different values, very different beliefs. It's going to lead to not only problems in the relationship, but ultimately, if you have a divorce, it's going to lead to a lot of conflict in the divorce. And it's going to be extremely emotional. Yeah, emotional and financially costly. And then your child, no matter how much you try to shield your child will be caught in the middle, and your child will feel caught in the middle. And so do you want this so badly that you're willing to deal with those consequences?
Oh my gosh, this is awesome. And this is where everybody can try to figure this out, and step-by-step guide to finding meaningful relationships, because it does seem, especially in this world, it seems harder than ever, especially in this digital world, to try to see this, especially when someone is, trying to, where would you start? Like, even when you're, let's say if you're single, nothing's working out, what would your advice be to that someone who is trying to continue to look for someone who really values them?
I say don't give up. I say this in the book that, it's a needle in a haystack, but the thing about the needle in the haystack is it's there. And if you look for long enough and carefully enough, you will find the needle. And that might be discouraging, but at the same time, it should be very encouraging, because the right person is out there for you. And it might be a very long time. You might feel like you want to give in, but know that you hopefully have a very long life ahead of you. And, if you give in now, then the quality of that very long life is going to be impacted, versus if you take the time now, even if it takes a little bit longer, you still have this really wonderful, fulfilling life, long life ahead of you. And the quality of your life will be significantly better.
You guys heard that? Don't give up. People, I just recently watched The Golden Bachelor, and I was like, oh, you can still find love into your, 70s. But the thing is, how are we going to find those meaningful, loving relationships that's actually going to benefit us and not hurt us? Please get this book today, wherever books are sold, on Amazon. Please let us know where else we can, is it located on your website? Do you have
yeah, you can. There's a link to it on my website. My website is livelaughfindtruelove.com. But yeah, Amazon, Barnes and Noble, anywhere books are sold, essentially, you can find it.
Yes, awesome. And she has an amazing Instagram, right? Your Instagram handle?
It's sarah.a.intelligator.esq. It's a mouthful.
But that's awesome. Find so many helpful tips. Please get this book today because I tell you, like, this is the one of the pieces that I feel like has been overlooked as a society, right? We're focusing on the eating and the stress and the sleep and the exercise, but our relationships, not that many people are talking about that. So thank you so much, Sarah, for bringing this out
Thank
into
you.
the world. This is a must get for every single Soundhead person that is listening today because we need this to truly heal from the inside out and optimize our overall health and well-being. Thank you so much, Sarah, for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thanks.